And we are live. Hi, all. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm our founder and CEO at Mylance. We're helping empower freelance consultants to work for themselves, go out on their own. Today, we have Dave Norton. Dave and I actually worked together back at Uber, but he's gone on to do some pretty incredible things since. So I'll turn it over. Dave, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you just give our audience a quick introduction to you and your professional career thus far?
Sure. Bradley mentioned, I have been in tech for a really long time. I was at Uber with him previously, and then made my way into the world of e-commerce with FrameBridge, and now I'm at a clean energy startup called Arcadia. And throughout that whole time, I've just kind of been mastering my skills at customer experience and customer experience management and logistics. And it was really something that I kind of like fell into being at Uber, where you had to be kind of like a jack of all trades at the really early stages of a very growing startup. And I just kind of cut my teeth there, really got a passion for customer experience and all the logistics behind it, the data collection behind it, how you could use customer experiences to tell stories and inform product. And that's kind of what I've been doing ever since. And after several years doing that in various companies, I've kind of thought about where I could offer this skill set to other growing startups, and kind of pass along my expertise there, because I've got like some great stories and great learnings from my time. And so I reconnected with Bradley, kind of saw what he was doing with his career and freelance consulting, setting up Mylance, and took the boot camp, and I'm kind of ready to go down that path as well and start advising startups on where they should go and how they can grow.
Awesome. Well, a lot to dive into here, and you're kind of at the beginning of your journey. So we're going to go a bunch into how you're thinking about it. Obviously going from a full-time gig and you have a great job to leaving is scary. It's a big jump. A lot of people are interested in making it, but scared. So maybe you can talk us through, like, right now, your psychology. You've made the decision to leave your company. You told me you have 2 weeks left. Talk us through the psychology right now and making that transition to go out on your own.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely scary because there's a lot of unknowns. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, but I do think it's like really empowering. One of the things that I really appreciated at our time at Uber was the idea of like having the mentality of being an owner. And so that's something I've always carried with me. Wherever I've gone, and just kind of had that sense of ownership at these companies. I've had those guardrails of, it really was somebody else's company, but, I had a very, vested interest in having it succeed. But, after doing it, 3 or 4 times or so in different venues, I kind of realized that it's, sort of the same thing, but different environments. And it's really kind of encouraging to me that, this is something that I really know how to do and really know how to do well. And helping other startups grow is something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I kind of want to pour that energy into, not only starting my own business, but also just like kind of helping bring my expertise to other folks.
And what gives you the confidence? Because I get asked this all the time. Like, what gave me the confidence to just quit and go out on my own? What's giving you that confidence right now?
Well, I think, seeing a lot of peers that I really respect and admire, like you and some of our other friends that we've worked with, some of my other friends from other companies have gone out and done this before and been really successful. And, we've worked together, we've had similar experiences, and I've got that skill set. So I've seen it work for them. So I kind of feel, I've got that too. Why not me? And I think the idea of just being in control of my time and my own career trajectory is something that's really exciting. So I think, even though it is kind of scary jumping out of the plane, I kind of have seen it work for a lot of people. I've seen their parachutes work. I kind of know that I have a parachute. So I'm pretty confident that that it'll all work out. And you know, having gone through Mylance, I think that was really, really eye-opening to me, to be in a room with a lot of other professionals, not necessarily with my exact same skill set, but with different skill sets that are also going on the same journey, and kind of seeing like what that playbook like at all of my, you know, companies that I've been with before. You know, the playbook is always the holy grail, and it's always like, here's the tried and true way to do a process, and you know, if you follow the playbook, it's going to work out. Yeah, I felt like Mylance kind of gave me a playbook, and it's kind of like, these are the tenets that you want to follow, this is how you want to set things up, this is the order of operations. So I'm just kind of trusting in the playbook, and you know, kind of taking it from there. So that's given me the confidence.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear. And it's also something that helped me was, what's the worst that could happen, right? You're an accomplished individual, that your resume speaks for itself. In the absolute worst case, you could go get a job, right? And I tell people that all the time. It's like, I mean, is that a thought in your mind?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, so much of this journey is all about networking and making connections with other people. And so, you know, I'm heartened by a lot of the stories that I've heard of folks that, you know, have consulted for a few clients, and then maybe that, you know, sometimes it's their first client too, it turns into a full-time gig, and it turns out that they went on this route to try consulting, and it ended up in another full-time job, or something else turned into a full-time job down the road. Yeah, I think, you know, my experience speaks for itself, and all of those opportunities that I've had to kind of hone my skill set would be extremely useful in a consulting role, and would be useful in a full-time role too. So if it doesn't work out, you know, I could always go for the full-time role as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you talked about the playbook, right? And that you started it. You know, walk us through from kind of, once you had the idea, okay, I've seen other people go out on their own. I've seen similar type people have success. I want to explore that for myself. Why not me? As you said, walk us through the steps that you've done thus far to get yourself best positioned really to have success as a freelancer.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, it's just like having lots of conversations and being really curious. I think being curious is one of the things that makes people successful in whatever it is that they're doing. So I think the first thing that I did was just started kind of talking to people that had gone down that road. You were one of them. I talked to other people as well. And just kind of said, like, what was your experience? Like, what were some of the things that you encountered? How did you make the decision? And once I kind of had like those data points, you know, in our world in tech, you know, being driven by the data is always really important. You know, I kind of took the next step and kind of looked to see, you know, where the playbooks, where the programs that I could put myself where I could be successful. And I found Mylance. We talked a little bit about the program. I saw some other folks that I had really respected that was in that kind of same boat and had done it. So I took the leap and said, I'll take the course and, you know, see what I can glean from that. Worst case scenario, again, it kind of informs my decision in another direction. And I realized consulting is not for me, but it kind of pushed me further. And yeah, I think just surrounding myself with people that are on a similar journey that also creates a great support network, as well as a source of inspiration and kind of, you know, further examples of how I can kind of do it. I think that's been kind of key to me making this success.
Cool. So we took the Mylance bootcamp, spoke with a bunch of folks, and now you told me you've taken some additional steps that are, you know, you don't have necessarily a client yet. You're still finishing up your job, but you've done some additional things to help set you up. What are those things? Yeah.
So, I mean, just kind of doing the playbook, I incorporated myself. I set up an LLC. I got my business bank account set up. I ordered my computers. It's kind of funny. Like I've had really great equipment all these years, but it's always belonged to my company. So, you know, I've got that set up. I've got my, you know, monitor for my home office. It just so happens that I'm also moving like currently. So, you know, having that dedicated space kind of, you know, ready. So I'm ready to go in those in that kind of capacity. And then, yeah, I'm just kind of getting the word out and letting people know what I'm up to. A lot of my friends are not necessarily in my particular niche, but they've done consulting before. They know other people with companies. So just getting the word out and letting people know that I'm going to be available. I have been talking to a couple of potential clients. One I think is looking really promising, and I think we're going to kind of revisit after they kind of close their round of funding, which I think will kind of open up some doors. But yeah, just kind of staying in touch. And Mylance kind of really helps with that. Like, here's how you reach out to potential clients. Here's the questions that you ask. And again, it's all about just being curious, gathering information. So I have kind of like a robust pipeline of contacts and potential folks. So as soon as I'm available, I can really dedicate myself to that.
And that's such a good feeling, right? Because that's always the biggest unknown is, am I going to be able to get clients? And to have that robust pipeline set up is a huge difference maker. So, I mean, what did that look like? It sounds like, or I guess, how did the promising leads come about? Did it come about from, you said you reached out to some friends that might have been in consult, like where did those people come from?
Yeah, a lot of it started with friends, friends that I knew were in similar positions. I had a high school friend that is at a really early stage startup, and we reconnected on LinkedIn, and I just kind of said like, hey, like, tell me about what you're doing. And it turns out that, they have a really big need there. But, again, they're going through a round of funding to see what's going on there. But, being plugged into the DC business community, that kind of led to conversations about other people that they know that are in similar boats that they can introduce me to. So, I think it's just kind of like that domino effect. A lot of people that you kind of contact and think that, maybe they'll be the lead, they kind of introduce you to other people who will be a lead. So I think it's just kind of understanding that there's, it's really kind of cliche, but if, one door closes, another one opens, a lot of times those doors lead to other doors. And that's been kind of my experience. And it's a lot of fun, just kind of like, finding out what other folks are doing.
Right. And I think that's the best approach, right? You're really catching up with a friend or an old manager or past peer. Hey, what's going on? As you said, being curious. Mm-hmm. And then maybe that is a lead, but maybe it's really just an introduction to somebody else. Yeah, we get all the time this pushback when we say use your network, and they say, well, my friends aren't in business in the way I want, that fits with my niche and we're like, look, just go have these conversations and go be curious, right? Just trust us. And I think you're telling us that, yeah, it does work, and you can get introductions to people who could end up actually being clients.
Yeah. And I think too, timing is everything. And I think a lot of these conversations kind of inform that. So, obviously I have a full-time job right now. I don't have the capacity to go out and start these projects. I will in a couple of weeks. So, I'm time bound, but in the same time, I'm finding out information about a lot of other folks that, also have opportunities that, may not be available now, but, they're thinking like, fourth quarter, things like that. So, that's all information that's really valuable too, is you're kind of like building out, your calendar of what you think is going to be available, and, kind of putting together like that landscape and saying, okay, here's what like fourth quarter could look like. Here's some people in that pipeline. Here's what near term looks like. So, yeah, I think those conversations are super valuable, and just something to keep in your back pocket.
Yeah. Tell us what your ideal kind of work life looks like. Assuming some of these clients do come through, do you want to be working a certain number of hours? Do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to make a certain amount of money? Like, what's your ideal situation over the next year or two?
Well, I think like long term, I think definitely the idea is to, work a little bit less, have a little bit more free time. That's a big motivator for me wanting to go out and do this. So, I would love to cut my work week in half and be in control of my time. Time is always a little bit more valuable to me than money. I think, there's just so much available to us, like experientially, that I want to experience. So that's a huge motivator for me. But in the near term, I'm also kind of realistic about like, really wanting to devote a lot of time to making this successful. So I'm kind of willing in the short term to, be working a 40-hour a week with clients, and just kind of like getting the experience and getting the the experience of consulting under my belt. But long term, I think, finding a way to make my equivalent income that I have now, but be more in control of my time, that would be great. And I think, being a family is really important to me. So that's a huge motivator. I've got nieces and nephews and, other relatives and friends that are all off in different places, and being able to just kind of like take a month off and be able to like really spend some time with them and be a part of their lives. That's a huge motivator for me too.
Oh, that's amazing. And something that would just be basically impossible as a full-time employee, right? I mean, unless they're giving you a sabbatical, taking a month off to travel around and see family, it's not going to fly with most employers.
Exactly.
At this point, is there anything that you're scared of, really worried about, regretting, or I don't know, any of those kind of emotions?
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely the fear of failure. If this doesn't work out, that will be a disappointment, I guess. But like you said, I think leaving on good terms is like really, really important. So I had like really honest and transparent conversations with my boss, beforehand when we were talking about sort of long-term aspirations, and said like, this is something that I want to work towards. So this isn't coming as like a surprise, like 2 weeks that I'm out. Like we've been working on this for months together, making sure that like transitions are in place. And I've kept the door open there for them to be a client of mine as well. If that is something that opens up. So I'm not too fearful of it not working out. I think one of the things that I am a little bit, I don't know if fearful is the right word, but I want to make sure that I give myself enough time to make it work too, And so, if the first month is slow, the first 2 months, I don't want to get scared and like run back to a full-time position. So I think just, having the fortitude to kind of plug along for, a good 3 to 6 months and before running back to a full-time gig is something that I'm trying to hold myself accountable to.
And I think it's smart to detail that out, right? I have heard so many situations, whether it's going out freelancing or starting a business, where people, it can be really tough. You can hit a big roadblock or just have it be really slow at some point in that journey. And if at some point when it's slow, someone comes at you with a great offer to join full time, it's really easy in that moment to take that offer, right? And then maybe 2 or 3 months down the line, you're like, oh shit, what did I do? Right? I set out with an intention, and now, right? And so, it might be worthwhile. I mean, how do you think about kind of avoiding those kind of temptations should they come up?
Well, I think, and this was something that we covered in the boot camp as well. It's just kind of being like upfront with folks that you're having conversations with and letting them know that you're not looking for a full-time gig, that this is, you do want to work for, 20 hours a week on a, advisory basis, a consulting basis. And so, some of the folks that I've talked to, they are looking to hire somebody full-time. And I was like, well, I'm not your person then. So like, which is hard to say because you want to, go after the next shiny thing, and you're usually excited about the thing that they're working on and, want to be a part of it. And it is tempting to just kind of jump there, but you're like, no, this is what I'm working towards. So I think always like keeping the why in mind there. And then I think, just having your future kind of planned out, or just having like a little bit of a plan. So, this is something I've been thinking about for a while. So I want to make sure that I have like, some reserves, financial reserves, to fall back on. And, I have that, I've set it up. So I just have to kind of, trust in that and just say like, all right, we're good. Give it the time that you set yourself up for. You've set yourself up and saved for this for a reason. Don't go running back in the other direction.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. So I think that wraps it up for today. I guess actually one last question for you that just came to mind. You talked about your current company could be a potential client. How did you set that up? Is that likely in your mind? Like, what did that conversation look like?
So, I mean, as I've been, talking to folks and, doing my goodbyes and things like that, and letting them know what I'm doing, it's come up a lot that it's like, well, maybe this is something that like you could do for us in the future. I think they are really looking for like a full-time, person to come in and do the things that I've been doing. But we'll see where the company goes. I do know the ins and outs of it, and it would be like a really easy 1 month, 2 month commitment if they needed something done. So I think it's something that they're considering and keeping in their back pocket, and they know that I'm open to it. So I think we're just leaving it at that. But again, I think just kind of being transparent, being open, and letting people know that that's a possibility for you and that it's a possibility for them, so that if the need does come up, they can kind of call you.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, we wish you the best of luck. Our plan is to check in with you in a number of months and see how it's going. So this is the before, as you get yourself set up and ready for success, and then we'll check in and see how it went.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll have some great stories and great successes under my belt, but I will keep you all posted for sure.
Sounds good. We're confident that you will, and appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks, Bradley. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, let's end this guy.